I'm Eric Glotzer. Thanks for tuning back into NatchezTV. For millions of years, the Mississippi River has provided a livelihood for countless numbers of creatures that live between and alongside its banks. Dinosaur-era creatures still swim in the Mississippi River. It is the backbone of the powerhouse economy of the United States. It has inspired some of our country's greatest talent. But the most magical thing of all about the Mississippi River, the most magical thing of all is that it continues to offer opportunities to you and me.
People have a misconception of the danger of the river. I mean, you have to be careful. But once you go out there and start feeling better about the towboats and the dikes, then, you know, the Mississippi is a relatively safe river. And so I'm hoping that maybe some of those notions would be dispelled, that you can't go on the Mississippi River, you're going to get killed. It's not that at all. It's a beautiful river, has a lot of opportunities. Just be careful and carry a cell phone. Our experiences have shown that there are multiple uses of this river. You see, of course, recreational and commercial fishing going on. I would say that it's a moderate amount. It's certainly, the river's underutilized in that respect. People just don't get on the river. Also, the whole concept of ecotourism, bird watching, people also are taking canoe trips down the river. We've even seen, on several occasions, swimmers.
And people have been paddling canoes for thousands of years, and safe canoe methods have been established alongside with that. Well, we established Quapaw Canoe Company in 1998 to share the beauty of the river with the world. And it's just a beautiful place, wild, great camping, great picnicking, great swimming, and very few people know about it.
This place is magic. It allows you to transport your thoughts both into the past and into the future, and it's hard to describe. It just has to be experienced firsthand.
As kids, you learned how to spell Mississippi, you read life on the Mississippi, and yet America doesn't understand it at all. And it's become misunderstood because it's used wonderfully for this country for economic reasons and navigation, but it also needs to be, at the same time, understood to be a marvelous natural environment.
2/3 of America's songbirds use the Mississippi flyway.
In the Western Hemisphere, you've got birds that nest all the way up into the Arctic, come down the Mississippi River, like the shorebirds, the migratory shorebirds that are here, and they stop here in points along the river and go all the way down deep into South America. And they're suited to fly on 40-inch wingspan and thermals, you know, a couple thousand miles to do that. So we are doing projects like the Great River Birding Trail website, which is greatriverbirding.org, starting to collect the hundreds of places on the whole river where people can get to the river environment and see birds, but also maybe understand some of the habitat there, or it may be close to a community where they can stay and enjoy other things.
My feeling is we already have the industry, we already have the good transportation network, so why not pay more attention to the other parts of the river as well? It's incredible variety of wildlife, and it's beautiful islands. It's one of those things you should see, you know. If you're going to really know America, you should see the Rocky Mountains, you know, for its natural features, the canyon lands, the Grand Canyon, and you know, the Mississippi River, if you ask me. It makes me feel complete. It's one of the few places I feel at ease, and the world makes sense somehow. Things are connected, one thing to the other. Even though it presents great challenges and is very uncomfortable at times, it's still just always enlightening.
In 2002, we started a race on the Mississippi River here in Natchez called the Fatwater Kayak Challenge. The Fatwater Kayak Challenge is it's a 43 to 44 mile downriver race from Grand Gulf, Mississippi to Natchez, Mississippi, here at Natchez under the hill. And it's a race that's open to any paddler, you know, whether it be in a kayak or a canoe, a surf ski, an outrigger canoe. Most of the people that come to the race are probably in their late 30s to early 50s. it's something that anyone can pick up at any time in their life. The idea of using the Mississippi River as a recreational resource where we could invite outsiders to our area and show them what we have here, I just found the whole idea worth pursuing. We were hoping to get people in Mississippi to understand that the Mississippi River can be used as a recreational resource. We were also interested in introducing people to the environment in an eco-friendly way, and as an adjunct to that, to become a little bit more familiar with the ecology of the region, and hopefully long-term get people to take more of a stewardship role toward the Mississippi River. On any given day, I've been paddling and seen roseate spoonbills. I've seen marabou storks. I've seen white ibis. You'll see alligators. Today we were out, we saw 4 alligators on the Mississippi River. People talk about whether or not they're actually in the river. Well, I'm here to assure you that they are.
United Mississippi Bank presents the Natchez Bluff Blues Fest, April 27th through 29th in downtown Natchez and the Vidalia Riverfront. Starring Y.Z. Ely, Hezekiah Early, Little Poochie, Vicky Baker, the Cowboy Blues Band, and more. 2 bands Friday, 8 bands Saturday on the UMB stage in front of the Natchez Grand Hotel, alongside the Spring Market on the Mississippi. Club shows Friday and Saturday night, Sunday blues brunches, and Mayor Hiram Copeland's Blues Picnic on the Vidalia Riverfront.
Supported in part by funding from the Mississippi Arts Commission, a state agency, and in part from the National Endowment of the Arts, a federal agency. Big Mama's Southern Style Barbecue, Catfish, and More introduces the Working Man's Lunch. Sandwich of your choice, a side and a drink for $4.99. Supersize your sandwich for $1 more. Big Mama's Family Meal Deal feeds a family of 4 for $5 per person. Daily specials start at $6.99. Dine in or take out. Good eats at great prices at Big Mama's Barbecue, Catfish, and More on John R. Junkin Drive in Natchez. The majesty of the Mississippi River is known around the world. We all started learning about it when we were very young. Since the dawn of time, the Mississippi has provided food, transportation, commerce, recreation, and inspiration. And with a little education and understanding, we can be good stewards of the mighty Mississippi and ensure that our children get to enjoy the same opportunities that we have had.
In its simplest form, ecotourism is cooperating with the environment in which you live in a way that is non-destructive and non-consumptive.
Ecotourism has a connotation of kind of pure, and there are ecotourism experiences that particularly they try to enrich the local economy, use local-based products, and that's great. The National Audubon Society has been around a long time, since 1905. Here in Mississippi, we have a couple thousand volunteer members. People sign up as members. We have about 500,000 in the country. And I'm one of the employees. We have about 600 employees around the country. In Mississippi, Audubon is building the staff and the programming. There've got to be people to service that industry. There's got to be hotels, restaurants, places to get people around, like the buses they purchased here at Terra. Old school buses, they cut the tops off, so they're wonderful kind of woods tour buses. We do promote, and out of our office in Vicksburg, a lot of nature tourism. Bird watching is one form of nature tourism, canoeing, paddling, biking, getting outdoors basically, hunting, fishing, and using the river environment. Birding is really only one of the activities, but it is an activity that people will spend money on. There are somewhere in the order of 40 million Americans who watch birds, and to some degree, about not quite half of them maybe travel to do that. And it's a large economic enterprise. I think it's something like, if I can remember the specific numbers, in Mississippi alone, there's the expenditures on wildlife watching, mainly birding, are something in the order of $400 million a year. That includes bird seed, feeders, binoculars, trips, So it's a pretty large economic activity that rivals some industries, even like catfish farming. There are dozens of national wildlife refuges, state wildlife areas, places like St. Catherine Creek down by Natchez. With the message of come and watch some birds, we'd like to see, well, come and really understand a little bit about the Mississippi River environment and realize that, you know, there are big decisions to be made even about protecting this river system. It's one of the natural wonders of the world, and yet we don't really think of it that way. Audubon now has a 10-state Mississippi River initiative to promote a more system-wide, connected kind of management of the river, much like the Corps manages the river. They manage from Vicksburg, the Mississippi Valley Division, through 6 districts of the Corps, including the Vicksburg District, and they're managing that navigation system. Well, we'd like to promote a kind of similar management of the ecological system, both from the water quality standpoint, from the biological populations, fish. There are fish like sturgeon and others that use major parts of that river in their life cycle. People do think of birds when they hear Audubon, and birds are kind of sentinels or reflections of the condition of the environment. They're very visible. So bird watching is a popular activity, but it is one of the birds are sort of a hook into the whole environment and the habitat. The Mississippi River Field Institute to us we're working with Delta State University, community colleges, school systems to create an outdoor learning environment that can serve the whole Lower River region and really do professional training, teacher training, and that's where Tara is reaching out to the world and saying, you know, we have this great facility. It could be a hunting camp, but we want it to be a learning experience for thousands of people, for kids in particular. And you know, Maggie Bryant, the owner of Tara, is committed to that. She was the former chairperson of the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, so they have a tremendous commitment to conservation and the environment.
Tara was incorporated in 1987. Prior to that, Mrs. Bryant's second husband, late husband, he died in 1983. The original Tara property of about 3,000 acres had been held in his family for some 150, 160 odd years. It's hard to trace it back beyond that. For probably the first 10 years of its incorporation, it was primarily a hunting club and farming and some timber management. And I guess in that interim period, they'd acquired more land to bring it up to its current base now of about 17,000 acres. And we decided to look at reforestation programs and to extend our hunting, but also to look at these other non-consumptive opportunities. And that's when we've branched out into starting doing corporate meetings, for environmental type meetings, for conservation groups. But we've looked at the educational aspects. We have a large summer youth program. The relationship Tara has with the Mississippi River is, I guess it's 13.5 miles of frontage to it is certainly the most evident thing. But our wildlife production, our timber production, it wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the river. The overall goal of Tara is to manage and maintain its natural resources in a sustainable way. I guess of the foundation there is a very strong emphasis on education, and that can be education at all levels. But I would encourage people to take care and start to manage what they've got better and doing a better job than we've done in the past, and continue to be open-minded and look at ways of improving it, because we only really get one go at this, and it'd be nice to think when we're gone we did it right, or the next generation come along and said, well, yeah, they really left us something here.
You know, the river is an awesome river. It's a very diverse river. We really have not done a good job of taking advantage of this picturesque setting that we have here on the river. The fact that the work that we do on the river, they have responsibility for overseeing, will preserve the river, you know, for future generations. And so you start off as a kid who just, you know, played in the river. First fishing I ever did was on the river. My grandmother took my cousin and I on the river. The environment is something that we enjoy immensely. We want to make sure that our kids can also enjoy that. So that's another responsibility that that we take seriously.